What's up, interwebs? It's your realtor, Jeremy. It's time for the Valley Market Update. It is the first week of February, so we've got some brand new numbers to share with you, and they're all wrong. All right, so they're not exactly wrong. They're just like 30 days old, and in this market, that's a big deal. I'd love to share more current numbers with you. This is the MLS data, which comes out once a month at the end of the month. Talks about everything that closed the previous month. So in this case, we're looking at January numbers. Most of it that closed in January actually went under contract back in December. So we're kind of more looking at what was happening in December. So I'd love to have a little bit more like current and fresh data. I could get that from the Cromford report. I do tend to go to most of the webinars that they host just to kind of know what's going on. I give you a lot of my insights come from there, but it's like $400 a year or something like that for the subscription for the data. And there's not enough people that watch this show to make it affordable for me to do that. So if you want more current information, have your friends subscribe so we have more watchers. Share this with your friends. Love to be able to subscribe to the Cromford report and have a little more fresh data. Like each week I could give you up to the week of what's happening in these different markets that we check out. This is the data we've got. The data we've been looking at for like 3.5 years now. So let's get into it. We're gonna look at Chandler, Gilbert, and Queen Creek. But before we get into that, I wanna address a little thing about, well, it's not a really little thing, inventory. I feel like a broken record. We have ridiculous low inventory. It is getting even lower. I heard this from the Cromford report. Luckily, demand is slightly slowing a little bit, but inventory levels are reducing at a faster rate. So it's really not helping things out. Why does it feel like we just can't get ahead on this inventory thing? It's because builders stopped building a few years back, and the younger generations, normally people would start to get into home ownership in like the mid-late 20s, maybe 30s at the latest. Millennials as a whole, and this is a gross overgeneralization, I'm a millennial and I bought my house at 22. The largest population group, the millennials, they as a whole were not into home ownership 15 years ago. Now they all are about buying a house. So when you have multiple years through all of the like basically 2018 till 2016, 15, 16, our build rates were insanely low because people weren't buying. And now this massive demand kind of came all of a sudden, and there's just not enough time to build enough houses. Plus, you've got the influx of people transplanting, coming to Arizona to live, to work. Yeah, it's just a perfect storm, and it's gonna be a while before we see any kind of uptick in inventory because it takes time to build a house. A lot of the data we're gonna look at is a signal of what was happening in December. New listings did take an uptick. Buyers, big old drop off, but again, that's not uncommon in that December timeframe. Listing prices did come down a touch, but that's not an indication that prices are going down at all. Absorption rate did come back up a little bit, but that was because we had that influx of some new listings. By the way, all those new listings that came are completely gone already. Sold to list price ratio did tick up a little bit. I suspect we're going to see a big jump up in this when we see numbers come out for February. There's a lot of competition for houses, even still right now, and probably more so than we saw in October, November timeframe. Days on market, I think it's hilarious that our scale now doesn't even go up to, it goes up to 32. That's, yeah, 30 days on market, that's still really fast. Just in comparison to the last year, it seems quite long. Average sale price, $545,106, up from $456,759, a 19.34% change. I believe over the next few months, we're going to start seeing these appreciation levels come down a little bit just because there was such a steep ramp up last year, starting basically in January and then into February, March. But it is going to depend. If we don't get any more inventory, that acceleration is going to continue. Spread of houses. Last month we sold 270. The previous year, 325. So definitely selling less than we did a year ago. The most active price band was the 400 to 500 at 86 homes sold. Gilbert numbers. Looks very similar to Chandler, though the drop-off of buyers was not as dramatic. Also saw a little bit of a dip on the average sale price in Gilbert. Again, not an indication that prices are decreasing at all, just an indication of the market. That holiday time frame always does some weird things. Absorption rate uptick a little bit because of the extra inventory we saw come on the market, which again is already gone. And sold to list price ratio ticking up again. Days on market, this graph only goes up to 30 because we're still under 30. 29 days on market. Average sale price in Gilbert, $567,468, 468, up from $471,379, 379, a 20.38% change. And the spread of houses, last month we sold 306, the previous year 315. So a little bit of a decline, not as much as we saw in Chandler. The most active price band was the 550 to 750 at 112. So over a third of the houses that sold in Gilbert were in that 550 to 750 price range. Queen Creek, the bustling town that is really, I think this is one of our biggest movers, especially over the last year or so, is seeing Queen Creek really come into its own, both in the town and what's happening in it, and the entertainment, dining options that are out there. Definitely becoming one of the premier Southeast Valley destinations for sure. Anyway, numbers. Here's the graph. Uptick of new listings, a drop of buyers, very similar to what we saw in Chandler. Average sale price dipped down a little bit, not as much as we saw in Gilbert and Chandler, but shows a similar trend. Absorption rate didn't tick up very much, but we were already a little bit higher at a little bit over a month of inventory, whereas Chandler and Gilbert are 0.7, 0.8 months of inventory. The sold to list price ratio did dip a little bit, but I am expecting it to uptick once we hit February. Average days on market, boy, they're really long out there in Queen Creek. 32 days, 33 days. It's like an eternity, guys. Average sale price, $619.82, up from $494, $289, a 25.25% change. Spread of houses, last month we sold 144, which is up from the previous year where we sold 127. The most active price band was the 4 to 500 price point at 56. But I appreciate you guys watching this week's Valley Market Update. Make sure you check out next week's episode where we're going to take a look at some West Valley cities on the Valley Market Update. Bye, guys.